night.
Hello.
Thanks for taking the time.
The show's great, by the way.
Thanks.
Binge watched it, could not stop until I was finished.
I didn't want you to binge it, but I guess you had to.
Yeah, because we have to ask you questions.
I know, that's not how I wanted you guys to watch it, but
We have to be an informed
Yes.
person.
Yeah,
Yes.
well, now we know what to look for.
yes, take your time with it. Take your time.
So I have to ask about all the religious motifs. 'Cause
Yeah.
I didn't notice it initially, but
Yeah.
then as the season progresses, just more things come up. You know, the baby's name is Jericho.
Yeah.
And we see in like the promo, there's like crickets. And I was like, oh, is that like locusts? And then I was questioning everything because I'm not super informed on Judeo-Christian mythology. So what was your kind of intention and your design of incorporating that?
The idea of telling some, let's see, how can I answer that? Almost a biblical story, but do it in a contemporary setting in one location, and you're interpreting everything was really I love that idea of that we're in one home, but we're telling a biblical story. I mean, even I guess when we think about that, I think about Exorcist and that the story of humanity's soul versus the devil's playing out in a girl's bedroom in Georgetown is super powerful to me. That big stories told in a very small canvas. It's I like that tension of it, and it evokes in you as a viewer to participate in the storytelling, which is what I most want, because if you participate, then it's very personalized and it stays with you. What we don't want is that kind of entertainment that is distracting and numbing almost. You watch a lot of entertainment to be numbed, and the thing I'm hesitant about the format of what we used to call television, I don't know what we're calling it anymore, is it was meant to distract you from your life and just kind of numb you a little bit, and as opposed to it becomes a part of you, and those characters and that feeling become part of you. So the hope is that we can do that with the show.
Was Servant always envisioned as a series?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. Tony and Jason came with the pilot, and the idea, I guess, was the base. The thing that it came, the original thing, kind of had the premise of a woman that lost a child and was doing this therapy with a doll, and you learn that in the pilot, kind of thing. And so that was the kind of thing that stayed, and then we went from there. But a super powerful conceit, and I felt immediately like I want to know how this story ends, and I felt very, very compelled for her, and justified all the mania that the character was going through. It was super tragic,
Yeah.
But yes, it was a long form story.
So when you guys are going to shop a pilot like this to a network, do you kind of, when you go to see them, do you have just the pilot, or do you kind of have the whole thing mapped out of where you'd like to see it go?
Well, we had 3 episodes, the first 3 episodes written out, and so we had those 3 episodes, and then we had, I wasn't quite there yet in terms of the balance of this long-form storytelling as opposed to making movies is I can completely map it out before I go to a buyer, but not in this case. But I knew roughly where I wanted to go, but I didn't really understand it yet. So when we went out to the buyers, we actually had it more of a anthology idea for it, like Leanne, that each season would be slightly different, and that immediately changed once we started writing 4 and 5. As soon as we sold it, essentially, it switched into the format that it is now. And now we spent a year and some talking about it and really diving into it, and we figured out the end, essentially. And so now we know the movement of the entire piece. But that's now, it's funny, you just reminded me of that. I didn't even remember that. When we went out, it was a very different. But I tried to convey that to the buyers that, hey, just give me a beat here. This is our setup, and I'm gonna figure out the end. But just trust me on this. We're gonna get an ending. I'm not gonna vamp here, And I said that to every buyer, that we'll find that ending. But so we went out and ultimately chose Apple for a bunch of reasons. One was I wanted to be the thing that helps define a place, and the way David Fincher got to define Netflix was that even now when I think of Netflix, I think of House of Cards. Right. Even now. I mean, now you start to think of Stranger Things a bit, but still the base is House of Cards. Oh, that's what Netflix means. That's what its aesthetics are. And there were shows before House of Cards, but that's what ended up being the definition
like
for me.
Putting them on the map.
Yeah,
I was always curious about that process of just where it goes when you're choosing like that.
Even
network.
the release, you mean?
Yeah, and then even like what led to like the half-hour format versus the hour, because I found that it was so much easier to get through, and then each episode left me like seriously wanting more.
Yeah,
like,
It's really tight.
I don't think I don't think I would have done it if it was an hour.
Yeah.
It's too much content. It doesn't go with the philosophy of what I do and want to do now for the rest of my career. It allowed me to even consider doing this long form is the half hour. We can do 30 minutes and do it at a super high, especially if it's very limited locations. That sounds like just a fun little tidbit, but it's not. It's you if it was 10 locations like a normal show or something, it's impossible to do it at the quality. It's just impossible. I have no idea how they did Game of Thrones for as long as they did. I have no idea how they could manage that. And I think they almost thought of it as different movies. Like they
did. I think it was.
Yeah, this was each had their lane, each of their characters in their world had it, and so you're making 4 shows essentially. Game of Thrones are 5 shows, and then editing them together, super hard, and you need that blueprint from the books and to keep you steady and all of those things. It's a hard proposition. The half hours is what made this even possible. I'm really excited about that format and that play-like quality of half an hour. It allows it to be one location, because if it was an hour in one location every episode, it would start to become like, wow, I'm feeling this is small or tedious, that kind of thing.
So the mystery of Leanne, like who
Yeah.
Leanne is and what her motivations are, kind of runs through the whole
Yeah.
season. And Nell said that she didn't always know
Yeah.
what she was supposed to be doing or why she was supposed to be doing it.
Yeah.
So was there ever a moment where her choices affected your, like, Tony's interpretation of Leanne or yours?
It was probably a slight flip of what you just said. As she's performing it and I'm going, that's not right. And then me figuring about and talking to her and saying, that's not right because I believe she is coming from X. And we started to I had a blurry version of it. And in fact, what now is definitively the end was, hey, what do you think about this idea? It was more like a suggestion. Maybe she's, and then, and this is what becomes of her. And then as I went, no, not maybe. This is what she's got, it went from maybe to, you put an idea out there, because when you're writing or something, when you come up with that, you put it out there and you go, I have a crazy idea, and you usually do it like this. Oh, this is a bad version of it, and this is a terrible, and then you do the idea and you go, and then they go, wait, that's not so bad, and you go, oh yeah, it isn't so bad, because in case it's bad, you go, I told you it was a bad idea. So you just put it out there, the idea, and then it sits and it has resonance, and you go, oh wait a minute, this is strong, and so as I became more confident in where I knew she was going to go, I could guide her in that thing. And we reshot a bunch as we were going. So one of the great things about owning the show is I just reshot everything that I as we did. I would go out in the morning and I go, we didn't get it. And I was like, and this is why I bring everybody in and go, this is what I believe happened. And again, there's no failure. We didn't get it because of X, and we learned something new because of it. For me, it's critical. Again, the half hour, the being in the same location. So I would go, hey, can you guys give me the set for an hour? I want to do something on that previous episode. Like that having the ability to admit that we were blurry because we didn't know. And to keep on orienting it that way and listening to it and learning is great. If we're constantly chasing content to just get it done as fast as you can, we're not doing the audience any service that way.
They had to be Wilmington, Delaware, right?
Oh, is that right?
Delaware.
There you go.
See, I'm not going to spoil it.
There are a lot of questions that are raised that isn't fully answered
Yep.
at the end of this season. Was that intentional, and if so, was that in order to get the audience to find their own interpretations to things?
Well, it's a balancing act of how to end a season and let you wait 1 year to continue it. It's a balancing act. Yeah, we go as fast as we can. and so it's that balancing act. I wanted you to learn something really specific and orient you at the end of season 1 that made you understand Leanne's trajectory. at least as much as I want you to know right at that moment. But wow, I thought I was only going down this road, but it actually was like, it just it starts aiming you in this new direction. And each season we want to do that in terms of getting to this finish line here. And so it's a balancing act between the format. What I love about the format is it's a humbling format between, I'm trying to get better at negative capacity. Do you know what that means? That's a psychological term, which is means your ability to be okay with uncertainty. And so that muscle, the more you can grow that, I think the better, the happier you'll be in life. But as an artist, that's where your strength comes from, because what ends up happening is, well, as an artist or as an athlete or anything, if you start to squeeze that, especially success starts squeezing that, right? You're not as comfortable with, hey, the next one may fail, the next idea may fail. You start to try to protect yourself and you want to keep widening that as much as possible. The great thing about this format is you have to learn that muscle. But you can have the other part that I haven't seen enough in this format is to have a discipline about, hey, this is our ending. We have to do the work now to get a sense of where the ending is, so that we're not, taking audiences this way, that way, and then betraying them as you do that, and finding, unmotivated reasons for them to do that 180 to get you back to this. And so when you see shows like Breaking Bad, that kind of, you see the architecture of the movement from beginning to end, it makes sense and there's integrity to it. There's not many shows like that where you can go from beginning to end. And so you're learning both muscles, to do the architecture and to be open in the moment to what, as we're learning ourselves, we're listening to the characters. That's the best writing and the best artistry, is where you're listening. You go, it's this, and then it comes back and it's not listening to you, and you go, what? Okay, don't jam it. Listen, why is it saying that? Oh, it wants her to be this. It wants the characters to go this way, and even though you want it to go that way, all right, let's listen to it for a second and see where it wants to go.
Is that your hope, that audiences will take that away and leave it open to their own interpretation?
I hope so. Then it's a healthier conversation. When they say in art, and even when I talk to the actors, I'm like, if you just ask the right questions as an artist, as an actor, that's what we want. Ask the right. Don't give me an answer. Don't give me an answer, because then it rings untrue. I'm sad, or I have a loss. I don't know how to deal with this. Is there a God? Ask the question properly. And I think it'll resonate with us. So in that same way, I hope we can get that balance right. It's tricky.
It's a really good show.
Thank
I
you
hope
so
you
much.
direct more in future seasons, though.
I
Because you
do
make
too.
really interesting choices. Like in the pilot, there were so many shots of people's hands, and I was like, why is he doing that? It's really cool.
Yeah, I really enjoyed directing 9, because I had everything was.
That was
Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, that one I was so excited. Every shot had movement, this kind of ticking clock feeling the entire time. It was fun to do. Take care. Thank you guys.